Welcome to Chieftain Roll Call. We're here at the WBCS studio. I'm Bill Tipple with Rick Reed and Jack Varner. They've both been on our show throughout the school year, and we're here to talk some Chieftain football, believe it or not, in early March. No spring football in high school yet, but I think that could happen someday in Ohio, by the way. Our show is presented by Easton Water Solutions on South Main and Bellefontaine, and even though there's no spring practice, I know that Coach Reed, who's the offensive line coach, always likes to talk Chieftain football. And Jack's going to get some of the same questions, and you guys can jump in with any of your questions or talking points at any given time. But what happens for a high school football team, more specifically the Bellefontaine team, from November, early November, once your season ends, to March? Like, what's been going on?
Well, lifting weights. There's not a whole lot to talk about. Lifting weights, lifting more weights. Now, speaking of that spring football, Ohio is getting some pressure to do it. I think some of these recruiting numbers that have come out the last couple of years where Ohio's really dropped, we are getting less and less guys to have Division I scholarships. Now, I think there's probably a lot of reasons why that's happening, but some people point to the lack of spring football, which, I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I don't know. But I don't know if you saw that they moved our start date up to May 15th. It used to be probably June 1st or close to it, and they added 3 coaching days to our summer. So we can have 13 basically full-scale practices from May 15th till the start of doubles. No pads, but you can structure it like a regular practice with your whole roster and all coaching. That's a lot. And then we also get those acclimation days before two-a-days. So they have continued to give, and I think that's obvious. That is to try to stop the push for spring football and say, look, we're going to give you as much as humanly possible without giving you spring football.
What's your opinion, though? Even if you were not a coach, I think you'd have an opinion on this because you're such a football fan. What's your opinion on spring high school football? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Or you can look at it on both sides?
Well, I pride myself in looking at things on both sides. And on this one, I probably don't have a strong opinion. I think that we should be allowed to have spring football from the standpoint of I don't like it when football is treated differently than other sports. I know that I was the wrestling coach, it's an individual sport, so how high school looks at it different. I could as the head wrestling coach and then take a weekend off and then say it's freestyle, use that in quotation marks, it's wrestling, it's different rules and different technique, but there's still a lot of carryover, and I can start working with guys. And football's the big bad wolf, and no one wants football coaches to touch football guys. I mean, they're afraid. A lot of them will say they don't want it to become like AAU basketball. They don't want to open Pandora's box with some of the 7-on-7 stuff. So, I mean, I can get their point. And then I also listen, spring guys would say, well, it'll ruin baseball and track. And I don't want to ruin baseball and track, but no other sports give us the same courtesy, if that makes sense. Like, there's guys that play in spring basketball leagues, and rightfully so. It's America. You can do what you want. There's guys that during football play fall baseball. So no one is putting that kind of restriction on other sports.
The difference that I see, though, is that the AAU is not run by Henry Stolle here.
No, agreed, but you can't even play. You can't play 7-on-7. Now they're changing that rule too. You couldn't have joined a 7-on-7 league in April. Now, there's something, I got to look at it. There is something changing with that rule, but that's the difference. A kid can go play AAU basketball, no harm, no foul, which would they be better off just being able to be coached by Henry Stolle instead of the AAU coach? I could certainly make that argument. And the Ohio high school historically made a lot of rules to keep coaches' hands off their kids, which partly is to protect the kids from a coach that's out of control and wants to make, their sport last 250 days out of the year. And that is... I have that concern too, but then all you end up doing is turning the kid loose to a guy or woman that is looking to make money. So I know there's an easy answer. I'll always say that football shouldn't have its own set of rules and that we all should do what's best for kids.
Okay. I knew it would not be any.
I'd be curious if Jack would want to play spring football.
We're about to ask his opinion. I knew this wouldn't be a short answer because it's I think it's kind of a complex issue. Your opinion on spring football. I know you follow football around the nation.
Yeah.
You're a sports junkie. You don't just follow high school football.
Right.
You follow college and pros. So, and here you are. You're a junior. You're about to have one more season. Do you think it makes sense? It doesn't make sense, or is it's complicated?
I think we should be able to do 7-on-7s, and we should be able to have days where you come in and work. I don't think any of that stuff should be mandatory, though. I don't think it would be held against us, and or like fake mandatory either, where it's like it's not really mandatory, but we're still gonna hold it against you if you don't come. Like just like you can come if you want, but are we talking like full?
Would you be interested? I mean, other states do true spring
Like
football,
like
Ohio
pads?
State does. Yes,
Like pads and
yeah, they
helmets and-
start with acclimation, and then they'll have a handful of padded practices, and maybe even a little intra-squad scrimmage. Would that interest you? If we'd be starting it probably right after spring break if we were going to do it.
No, I wouldn't want to do it. Honestly, I like lifting. I like getting better for the actual fall. Fall just feels like football season to me. I like being a little excited for football before it comes.
Right. And
I don't particularly want to do it either. I mean, I don't. I think if I ruled the world, we'd shorten all this stuff. Now, that would be across the board. I think a lot of the seasons are too long. I think that the high school season now basically being 16 games.
If you're allowed to
if
kick
you're,
in that
if you're
long.
the state champ, and then add in 2 weeks of scrimmages, that's a long time. I think the winter sports is way too long. I know as the head wrestling coach, and I've listened to a lot of the wrestling coaches even recently say they'd like to chop off like 3 weeks at the end. There's states like Iowa had their state tournament already, but we just finished our sectional. That's ridiculous. The spring is probably proper. It's pretty short. It's basically March, April, some of May. I would like to see the spring shifted back. I'd like to see football backed up as well. Don't start so early. We don't have to have doubles on July 31st. Back that up closer to Labor Day, the way it used to be. Push basketball and wrestling, winter sports, swimming deeper into the winter, start later, and then let spring start a little later and spread into June. I don't know why we're so bent on getting baseball games in Ohio on March 31st.
Well, they want to get it done before people graduate.
And I get that, but I don't know if that should stop us. I mean, what is the theory that the kid's going to graduate and we just quit the team? I mean, I would guess they would still keep participating. I know that could get a little goofy, but man, I'm not a baseball coach or player. I did play when I was younger, but I don't want to play baseball in June. I mean, what are we doing? Some of these games are going to happen out here in late March and early April.
Try to.
Miserable.
Weather
Well, they're going
permitting.
to try to. And then,
Weather
I don't know. I mean, obviously the calendar, but I just like to see it all shifted back. And as far as us doing spring football, I wouldn't vote for it. I don't like being told we can't if other people can, but I don't particularly want it. Here at Bellefontaine, I mean, they're giving us access to our kids. They've loosened those rules way up. We could work out legally today on the field with 7 kids, and that's fair.
Well, we'll talk about the Chiefs in the offseason and kind of some depth chart stuff you told me before the show. But I'll last part of this particular topic. What is the best way? Because this is kind of how I look at it, I guess, just as Joe fan. What is the best way to get your football team better? It's a tough question because you've never really lived it. You've never had spring football like maybe they do in Georgia or Florida or whatever. But obviously the colleges do it. Does it make Ohio State way better to do it in March and April than if they didn't do it and they start August 1st? So what's the best
You're better
way
by
to
practicing spring football. I mean, because you can still lift. You're not going to. It's not like you're going to do spring football and you're going to stop lifting. Spring football will make you better, and that's what the advocates say: is that kids, on average, in Georgia and Florida, are passing Ohio kids. I don't know how much, but it's not zero, because absolutely it makes you better if you practice. You're crazy. If you're not getting better because you're practicing, then you need to look at how you're practicing. If you gave us 10 days, 12 days, 14, whatever it is of spring football, we'd absolutely get better. Now, so would all of our opponents. So, I mean, in theory, you're kind of in the same spot. Yes, no brainer.
Okay, all right. And supposedly it makes your skill, and this is what Ryan Days even said before, this is position specific, maybe not for Jack, who's alignment, but like the guys that throw and catch, they say they're ahead because
You don't think we have skill? I mean,
No,
there's
but I
skill
mean,
in what
you
we
can-
do. He'd absolutely.
absolutely
you could
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
do
we have
that.
a skill
You could
too
do
that we have
that. You
developed.
could do that like maybe even like inside in the winter, but this is more of an outdoor, outdoor kind of thing. Is what I'm
Right.
saying.
I mean, yeah, and we can't. The thing is, but we can't do it. We can simulate drills, but we can't do it with. Yes, we would absolutely on the O-line, D-line get better with practice, but there would be a cost, and I don't like that cost. So I'm not sitting here advocating. I'm just giving both sides. I would hate to see a kid quit playing baseball because they want to play spring football. But I also would hate to see a kid quit playing football because they want to play fall baseball, if that makes sense. Yeah. Now, I understand it doesn't happen as much, and that's where.
Well, follow the money, and football's a moneymaker, even at the high school level. I would say we're not super far away from spring football in Ohio. Now, I don't think like next year, but I'll bet we're doing Chieftain roll call 5-10 years from now, but they have spring football in Ohio.
Yeah, probably.
I guess. Now let's talk about the Chiefs. I know you said the offseason is lifting, and I know Jack is he's a bigger man if you watch.
He's gotten bigger.
If you watch,
He's been lifting a lot.
Yeah.
How tall right now?
We're gonna say 6'2.5",
How about your weight?
240. 240.
What would you like to be by August 1st if it's perfect world?
I'm not much more than 240. Probably
6'5",
about,
6'6"?
well, yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Me too.
But yeah, about weight wise, about 240. I'd stay there.
Yeah, he doesn't need to get any bigger.
Okay.
But he's put on weight and he's been dedicated. So I mean, yeah, what we talked about, it's time to lift and get better. And there'll come a time where the weight is a little overrated. I mean, you need weight, but he's plenty big enough. And then as we get closer to season, tighten up and getting good cardio, and he's made a lot of progress.
Let's talk about some position groups specifically for Chieftain football. Even though we are here early March, you're the offensive line coach. And you lost, I think it is 4 starters. So
Parker 3.5. I mean,
okay.
Parker by the end of the season was playing a lot.
Okay.
I mean, Jack's the only full-time returner.
So do you have a feel for the line yet?
No, I don't have. I mean, it's the key to our season. I don't think there's any doubt of that. The key to our season is to find line play on both sides of the ball. I've never seen us to be more lopsided in just bodies and the guys that are returners and the guys that are talented. I mean, we are as heavy in the skill position as we've ever been in my time, and it's really not even that close. This will be year 17, I think, coming up. It's clearly the best skill group we've ever had, and it's maybe by like double. The deepest, the best, the high end's the best, the 10th best skill player's the best. But on the line, I don't know if we've ever been any more shallow. So I mean, we returned
a belt team. Maybe you're making some trades.
Well, yeah. Well, what we're doing is, and it's no secret, we're having conversations, and this is my strategy. And I'm not the boss. I'm just a voice. And to me, if you're not touching the ball, what else are you doing? I mean, should you come to the line? To me, it's as simple as that. Some people don't like that. Some people disagree, and some people don't want to do that. But if you're not we're not going to move Tavian to the offensive line. Probably won't move CJ. Probably won't move Riley. I mean, there's other guys too that we won't do that. That's stupid. But if you're a decent skill player, you may not get a play for us because you have to be really good to get on the field right now on offense. I'm just speaking offense, not defense. You have to be really talented. We had talented guys last year that never touched the ball. Can you block? Because we may need you. Now, we got some young guys that are part of this answer too. So where do you find these guys? The guys that played JV last year, simple as that, because Jack and Parker are the only 2 returning that played varsity. So the other guys are JV last year. We got a couple feelers out trying to recruit some guys off the streets. Some of them played in the past. Some of them never played. And then we've got guys that we're trying to move from skill. They were backups, guys that maybe, little bigger. We don't have big guys, or they wouldn't have been skill players. That's the plan. We've got a plan. We did a depth chart today. It's obviously, I'm not going to, say exactly what that chart is, but I'm always at what if we play tonight? What if we play tonight is we're going to be counting on some dudes to block that haven't done it before.
Well, who are some of the JV guys?
Well, I mean, coming in from the JV unit, Carter Yoder is going to be a junior. Will play tackle for the JV. Jesse Castle, sophomore, played on the JV.
Tackle?
Jesse played tackle. Yeah, both of them played tackle. So those are certainly 2 of the better JV linemen. Jordan Hensley's a kid that's now been around a few years. He's going to be a junior. Gabe Boysel's not Gabe Boysel, Gabe Ferguson. Gabe is a guy that, has been around a long time, has been the JV center. He's, still got ways to go in the weight room, but he's working. Mason Cook's a kid that wrestles varsity, 150 some, not very big, but, going to be a junior. Some of these guys, they're not young anymore. They're going to be juniors. Jack's got Charlie Bible supposedly on the hook.
Oh, he's in.
Now that we've set his name on Chieftain roll call, he has to play.
Charlie, if you're listening, you can't back out. It's over.
Charlie's a long-time listener. Yeah. Charlie's a guy that was decent for us, in junior high and then as a freshman. I mean, he can do it. Talking about moving some guys, I'll say it because we've shared it with him. Brody Boyd's the guy that we'd like to give a shot at center. And I know that's crazy. Some people think, why would we ever move Jack? And I'll just go ahead and say it on here. The reason we moved Jack is he's our best lineman. And the problem with Jack being our best lineman is center is the least important position to block. That's the most important position to snap. So that is a huge part of it. But center, it just, of the 5 linemen, if you could pick, you would not put your stud at center. You would put your stud at guard or tackle, just because you're just more meaningful blocks. Center's the place where you almost always get a double, especially as we're running gap scheme stuff. You get help a lot of times in pass pro from the guards. I mean, you just don't find yourself on that true one-on-one that you find in other places. And so we're going to give, hopefully, the plan is to give Brody a chance. He's not typical. I mean, he's 170 pounds, but that's not. Other guys have done it. Patrick Dodds is a guy that played here before I got here, was smaller. Hudson Hall played for me 5 years ago. Hudson was not big. He's pretty strong. And, you know, Jack plays as a sophomore and probably wasn't ready to play guard or tackle, but he could play center because, A, he can snap it. And if you can't do that, then, you know, that's why Brody is a unique candidate, because he's our long snapper. And the theory is, well, yeah, if you long snap, you can probably short snap it. Smart kid and tough and all that stuff. Ethan Orhood's another guy I like. Ethan is a guy I've coached. He doesn't get any kind of publicity in our program. He's going to be a senior. Ethan's getting bigger. He's not little anymore. You look at Ethan, he's probably, 6'1" almost, and probably 180 pounds-ish.
Yeah,
so he's not little. And Ethan, you know, he's not getting much chance to play in any skill position. He seems like he's eager. I'll roll with a dude like that.
You like those guys that have a real motor and a real
Well, it'd be nice to find some people who want to do it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, it's a simple question. And when you're asked, and, you know, some kids take that as a slight. I mean, I always keep it simple. A, are you playing? If the answer is no, okay, are you going to get a play? Are you the guy that's getting C.J. Wilson off the field? That's hard to do. Are you getting Riley Neer off the field? That's hard to do. So and it's not a slight to them. I guarantee you this. I was a skill player my senior year. I played tight end. I couldn't have got C.J. Wilson or Riley Neer off the field. They would have put me a guard, and I would have been happy to do it. So, do you want to be part of a good football team or not? Simple as that.
Well, I'll just say this. Out of all the names you threw out, which was like 10 or 12 guys, sheer probability you can at least find 5, I guess. So in theory, anyways.
We're going to have to.
You know these guys. You're
Yeah.
going to be a guard or tackle. It's now official. As we
Right.
get the boss
Well,
over here. Pretty much. official,
Hopefully,
I guess.
but
Pretty much.
we won't let this plan sink the season.
I'll still keep snapping
He'll
a
be
little
the
bit.
center if he needs to be.
Right.
All right. Well, let's say the new center does a fine job and is as good at their job.
Okay. Right.
What do you think about moving?
I like it. I like playing center. I obviously became pretty good at it, but the only thing with playing center is you never feel like you can really get after people like how you want to, because you got to focus on the snap, and then you finally get a good block, and then Tavian's like, hey, snap's a little high, and you got to go back and be like, oh. It's like it is true though. I've said it like multiple times. It's like I can't go 100%. I can go 98.4%, but I can never like really be like, all right, I'm gonna get after this dude. So I am looking forward to just being like, all right, I'm gonna get after this dude this year. Yeah, what guard or tackle? Guard I think would be cool because I'm a pretty good puller back in the day, Coach Reed.
The plan would be for him to play guard if things go well.
Yeah, but it's exciting. It's something new. I think I'm gonna be pretty good at it, or really good at it, and we'll see.
The thing with Jack, you know, one of his skill sets is he's kind of a heavy hand blocker, which is not exactly how you teach it, but he has really good strike, a little lungy, but it doesn't, you know, yes, can that hurt you? Sure. There's against certain guys that can hurt you, but a lot of times it can be valuable. And playing center takes that away from him. If you watch him in drills, and what I tell our other coaches that don't really know, if they would watch Jack in drills like I have, he's better in drills than he is in the game. And that's not that he wasn't good in the game. It's just what he's saying, the snap. And we're taking away his best attribute because he's playing center. Now, if he has to play center, he'll play center, and we can get him better, and he can continue to. But at guard, he can snort and be super aggressive and not worry about anything else, not snap it over Tavian's head because he's doing that.
Well, I got a question. This really won't matter for the Chiefs because the Chiefs are a shotgun team pretty much always. But if it was like old school football, the quarterback's up under center and they're running like a sneak. So your job is to snap the ball
Right.
effectively, but also to take out the push the nose guard. Do you get some of that in that old school like under center?
Yeah, we did it last
blocking?
year a few times. We were pretty good at it. The only thing that really got me tripped up is, I don't know if you remember this. One time, I think Sydney figured it out. and the guy just took my legs out right away, and it sent me flying into Tavian. And then I guess the radio announcer said, "Oh, the center got blown up." Because I heard about it at work the next day. I was like, "Did not get blown up. I got my legs taken out." But yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to tell that story.
Well, you watch the Eagles, how effective they were this year with QB sneaking, and part of it is their center super low, and like those dudes were, but they're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
And I know they're not under center all the time, but that's and I don't want to get sidetracked. But that's the tough thing. I'd love to get under center too.
Right,
When I took over the offense, we brought it back, but it's so hard identity-wise to go back and
I
forth
get
with
it.
high school. If we had spring ball, we could probably work on it.
But I'm just saying in that style of offense, does the
Yeah.
center get to like drive more and so forth?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this when
Yeah.
we say
Yeah.
at the snap, the quarterback's in shotgun, and a bad snap just it messes up everything.
Oh yeah.
So that's where it can all start and end, right in that 2 or 3 second part of the play. How about the other guys? I know Coach Reed threw out a lot of names. You know these guys. Some of them are your classmates, maybe a grade or 2 under. Who would be some guys you think that could be linemen?
Oh, well, let's start. I mean, with our linemen, Parker Knox. He's
I
going to
think
be.
he's a. I'm going to put some. I think he's a starter.
I promise.
Oh yeah.
Parker's
Well,
playing.
no. Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're just
Parker
gonna.
played down the
So
stretch.
you're
last
asking
year.
me to name people that aren't linemen that will be linemen?
No, it could
or
be
could
linemen,
be
but
linemen.
like some guys. I'm not asking you to give me the starters, but some guys that have potential. Maybe at tackle it'd be Joe Smith and Andy Jones. It's going to be a battle. I'm just
Right. What's this tough question? Jesse Castle, he's up there.
Got a
He was a JV dude last year, and he impressed a lot of guys on scout team and all that. He was on every scout team last year, scrapping with the varsity. Jordan Hensley, I think he's a more defensive first guy. He's better at defense, but if we need him to play offense, he's gonna have to figure it out. I think he can figure it out. He's a big, strong dude. Charlie Bible, bringing him out of retirement. I worked with Charlie a little bit, a little secret practice. His hands are still strong. So,
Good
yeah.
position would Charlie be potentially?
Well,
We could play center maybe if we had to.
Yeah,
he's
he
played
can-
it in the past.
he can snap the ball. He's actually really good at snapping the ball.
Which
They're-
is 50. I mean, he's hired almost. I mean, what's he hired? I mean, that's what we've always been a center. Carter Yoder's certainly a contender.
Yeah.
Carter is a dude that, he plays 3 sports though, so he's not able to be in the weight room much. Got a long, just good levers, but and plays hard, smart, a lot of good things. And it's just a matter of can he physically do it? And that's, Jack had that same question his sophomore year. Now he was being asked to play center, not tackle. You don't always know, and sometimes guys physically change in an off season. Cruz Shealy's a guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's never played football. He seems like a really good kid.
Looks like a strong guy.
Yeah, he's strong. Hey, it's the year to come out. If you've never played offensive line, this is the year. So if any people are listening, that got any eligibility and any ability to block somebody, come on down.
Well, I got a few questions about for Jack as he's done it.
Right.
Because these guys are going to be like you, maybe when you were a sophomore,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're a junior or senior, just they haven't had the chance yet. What's it like to be a first-year lineman?
Well, it's tough. Those first few games, you gotta get your nerves out of there. Like, you gotta just go. You gotta play 100%. You can't think too much because you're probably gonna be outmatched physically. So the only way you can, counter being outmatched physically is just playing 1,000 miles per hour and playing smart and doing everything right. You can't afford to be out physicaled and out maneuvered, out mentaled. So they'll be fine though. They just gotta know the plays and trust the older guys like me and Parker to tell them what to do, help them out.
Okay, so Jesse's got potential.
Yes,
Carter,
yep.
we've heard has potential. Charlie, we think is coming out. He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
good, strong guy. But any other guy? We talked about Brody. He talked about
Yeah, Brody
What
boy
do
can do it.
What do you think?
Smart
about
guy. Yeah, he's what, 170, 180. I mean, he's
70-ish.
about the same size as I was as a sophomore. I was a little bit bigger, but so he's not that undersized. He's a strong kid. He's a smart kid. He can snap, and yeah, he's got potential for sure.
Plus, he's playing the position that both of you said gets a lot of help.
Yeah,
Doubles.
yeah, absolutely.
Help. Are you excited to be the leader of the group?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I've been the youngest guy on our line for the last 2 years now. Last year, it was all seniors besides Parker. Parker played a significant amount, but it was all seniors last year. And the year before, it was all juniors and one senior with Josh. So,
And part of the recipe for us is Jack's got to be take a big step forward. Jack needs to be first team all league, maybe all district. Parker needs to take a big step forward to being, just rotating to being a good lineman. I mean, that's simple as that. They got to be 1, 2, and then we got to find it's more than 3. I mean, start with 3, but you really need more like 5 more because things happen. Guys get hurt. Guys play both ways. And we just got to get them to competent. We're not going to, this won't be, it's silly for me to sit here and say, oh, well, this might be the best line we've ever had. We just have to get better all the time, be good enough. The good news is we got some dudes with the ball that can make you look good. You don't have to be near as good if you're spreading the field and you're balanced, running the ball, throwing the ball, RPOs. There's a lot of guys with that football that can make us look good. Score quick. We don't want a ton of 15-play drives. Let's 3 plays and get it done.
Well, you're going to have some explosive players. No question
doubt.
about that. On the flip side for Jack, though, or his position group, the fans know this team.
Right.
A lot of these guys are second and third year players in the skill positions. So if the team's not doing well on offense, they're going to probably look at your group. So do you
know
feel
that,
well,
absolutely.
We do well when we get blamed.
Yeah.
well,
His dad will tell you
that's
all
true.
about that.
But do you feel the pressure, I guess?
No. Honestly, you look at the situation we were in going into my sophomore year, it was kind of the same boat. We're like, oh, we're returning no starting linemen, this and that. And, we turn it around and, weeks 1 and 2, we were kind of crappy, but we figured it out and we turned into, against Tri-Valley, we dominated up front. So, it's nothing new for us. We just got to get better each week. And then hopefully by the playoffs next year, we're dominating, hopefully Granville up front, hopefully run it back.
Okay. All right. Defense, I know that's not I don't think you coach any of the defensive line, do you?
No, I don't know what I'm doing defensively.
Okay.
But I know what's going on.
Do we have some ideas for
Well,
us?
I think we got the same challenges on the D line. This isn't in the NFL. It's the same cast of characters. Now, add Hayden Mans. That is the key.
Didn't bring his name up for offensive
That's
line.
all right. Hey, I love to have that conversation.
Still maybe?
The first thing I say to people is when they say move Hayden to the offensive line, I say, you going to tell him or is it me? That's where I start. And Hayden is our H, which
Tight end.
I promise you, not really even. He will actually play. We will play inline tight end. We did it 2 years ago when I called the plays. We had a formation where it wasn't him. It was Owen Stanley, actually. It was a personnel grouping where he stood up, kind of Kelsey style, that we are going to do that with him. But he's going to play in the backfield. When I say the backfield, alongside Tavian. He's going to be more of a fullback this year. Won't play him in that sniff spot near as much, a little bit, but he'll play in the backfield and be a running back. We need to get Hayden Mans the ball. I believe that in my heart of hearts. How do we replace the guys we lost skill-wise, which we lost a few that matter. We didn't lose a ton, but we lost a few. And then we also want to get better. Some of our guys had really good seasons. You roll that back and hopefully everybody's, 10% better or whatever, but you got to pick up some offense. I think Hayden's the untapped resource. Plus, he will be blocking nonstop. So that guy matters too. So, even if we'd move Hayden to the offensive line, then I'd have a lot of question marks who's going to do that job. So the plan is we're going to leave him be, and he will be a big part of our offense.
Okay. You said, well, who's going to tell Hayden? Is it that he doesn't want to be an offensive line?
No, absolutely he doesn't. Okay. You ever seen him run and catch?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he knows he's really good at it. And, it's hard to – now, I do believe, and I love Hayden. Hayden's come so far. He's matured so much. He's having a great offseason too. Yeah. I've known Hayden since he was 5 years old. Hayden, if we truly went to him, I think that he would do it. But, we need to get Hayden the ball. Hayden's a special talent. We have not had a lot of Haydens. In my time here – I don't know if we've had another Hayden. We've had some other, we've had elite running backs. We've had, elite receiver. I don't know if we've ever had Hayden.
Maybe, and it's just kind of different position, but I'll throw it out there. Maybe like a Dak Notestein offensive.
That was before my time. Yeah. So, I can't really speak to it. I'm obviously
But a bigger guy that can run.
Big guy that can run. And more than just run. Hayden can run. And Hayden has really good hands. Definitely, we'll use him a bunch.
Okay. Well, defensive lineman. Him at all?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how you fill it without
Good
him.
condition, but because you're going to play a bunch.
Well, yeah.
He needs to play both ways. Yeah, Jack, and that's the other thing of getting Jack out of center too. It'd be nice. I don't love the center playing both ways all the time. I don't know why, and I don't really have a good reason for that. It sounds better if it's guard well, part of it is you can't ever rotate your center out on offense. I mean, you don't do that, even though we did dabble with it years ago with Hudson Hall and Isaac Newman. But you can rotate a guard out. I mean, maybe he's so important on defense. Like, all right, he needs a series off on offense. We wouldn't do that if he was center.
Who's the defensive lineman candidates at least?
Oh,
all the same guys.
yeah.
Parker Knox.
Yeah, it's really the same
Jordan
guys.
Hensley.
Yeah. Me.
Jesse Castle?
Jesse Castle.
Absolutely.
Carter Yoder? No?
Yep. Well, defensive end, maybe a little bit. He'll get a chance.
It's all the same. I mean, honestly, anybody that have a chance to play on the O-line.
Charlie Bible, more of an offensive or defensive?
I mean, when I look at a guy like Charlie or Carter, who you're trying to get varsity the first time, you always say, well, let's get them playing one way first. But hey, there'll be a bunch of names in that hopper.
Okay, well, we talked linemen a bunch. Let's talk about the other position groups and then maybe some up and comers that Joe Fan just doesn't know about. Anybody that's maybe made a splash to you?
I don't think in the skill player you're going to see a lot of that just because we run back so many guys. Who's the new person skill wise that we wouldn't have featured last year?
Like who's the new?
Sam Berrien's a guy that will emerge. I think offensively he's going to play at H is the plan with Hayden and with Carter Caudill. That's another name. Carter's a dude that has a lot of potential. Had some nice games late in the games.
Kent Ridge, well,
had 100 yards maybe, didn't he? Had a big run. Sam and Carter will be at least in spot roles on offense would be most likely, but defensively very likely to play linebacker. Very, very likely.
Well, you're losing a good senior receiver in Colin Deitch. Anybody that's I don't know that those two guys are that position.
I think Kalen Organ's a guy that plays more offense this year. Patrick Stolley's a guy. If you watch him play JV basketball, I've really believed since last year. I thought that he would play as a sophomore. I don't have any doubt he's a varsity player. Probably both sides of the ball. Now I don't know how much where, but he's going to be in the mix on both sides of the ball. Zane Tevis is a guy. Is he playing? He's never told me he's playing. But I don't talk to him, so I don't know.
This is like breaking.
I hope so. Yep.
Well, if he plays, Zane played some varsity as a sophomore receiver. So if he would play, he'd be in the mix. He'd certainly be in the mix somewhere. I don't know exactly how it'll all work out. Caden Folk is a really talented, I think we talked about him last year, super talented freshman, going to be a sophomore, probably talented enough if we were worse last year, he would have gotten some playing time. He was probably capable of playing.
Is he a receiver or running back?
Running back is more him. A guy like Harper Scott maybe just featured more. He played offense last year. I don't know if I'm forgetting anybody. Zane Huffman is a dude that I like. Zane's going to be a senior. You never know. Zane will put in the work. He might get out there some. Josh Phillips.
Who's the fastest guy in the team?
Riley, I assume.
Or yeah, probably Kalen.
Kalen,
Harper, Riley. Those three, I'd
Yeah.
say. And CJ was up there too. Maybe a little behind.
Is there much of a buzz? I know you don't do any winter sport. You're very dedicated to football, the weightlifting, and all that. But here in early March, is there any buzz with, like, if you would bump into, Riley or CJ, or is it still so early? It's just not quite there yet.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it. You're just one season closer, I guess. You got with the winter sports wrapping up. You start to feel a little bit, not very much, but.
Well, a lot of our guys, we are on the highest end in my time here of guys playing 2 and 3 sports, which is good. That's always been the, people, football guy. I've never worked with anybody in my time here, so I've worked for 3 different coaches, one of them twice, and Coach Brown, that didn't want kids to play other sports. Now, we always want them to lift. That's always the eternal struggle is, can you play another sport and lift? And we have a bunch of guys. Like our weight room, we didn't have many varsity guys in the weight room this winter. There's maybe 3 or 4 dudes you'd say that's a varsity guy. We just had a bunch of younger dudes because they're all playing basketball and wrestling. And, we have a ton of guys playing track and playing baseball, or run track and playing baseball. So that's, they're busy. Those guys it's different for Jack. He doesn't play anything else. So he's thinking about football since, November, whatever it was when.
Any goals, and this is really early, but any goals you have for either for yourself or the team right now, things that maybe you think about when you're doing morning workouts, et cetera. Any goals for the fall?
Well, I'd like to be a first-team CBC player myself. I think that's a big part of, I think I have to be really good to help this team out this year just because we're lacking so much on the offensive line. So I got to put a lot of that on myself, I feel like. team-wise, I think it's the same expectations as it is every year at this point. Compete for a CBC title, make the playoffs, win playoff games. We haven't had a home playoff game in my time here, so I'd like to get a home playoff game. But I think that's just the standard now, though. Just competes for CBC titles, get to the playoffs, win playoff games. That as a team-wise.
Could it be, I'll ask both, could it be we're talking about some what-ifs with new linemen, et cetera, but if people stay healthy, they play well, could it be a special season?
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. But, I mean, there's a lot of challenges. It's not easy. Starts with having a elitist of elite quarterbacks who's going to take a big step forward. I mean, as good as he was last year, I don't be shocked if he's not 25% better, 30% better.
I never asked you this, but in my opinion, and you know more than me, I think he got a lot better from freshman to sophomore.
Night and day.
Yeah.
So if he's night and day from, I mean, quarterback can carry a team. I mean, we lost to Western Brown 2 years ago. They weren't very good. That was a dirty little secret about the whole team is they weren't even nearly as good as us, and the quarterback willed them to victory. So, I mean, that's a good place to start. I'd rather be really good at quarterback and weak, thin at guard than vice versa. So, it starts with that. And then, skill player. We got to play defense, though. I mean, we got, there's so many things. But absolutely, the expectation is win as many games as humanly possible. Simple as that, whether it's the league, whether it's playoffs, and just in the season. What you really want to do is end the season where you say, that's where we should have ended. And whether that's holding a trophy and win the state title or if it's losing in the second or third round, when you lose, you say, that was probably as good as we were going to be. We didn't get to do that last year. We know that. We barely even got to do that 2 years ago because I feel like we think that we could have beat Western Brown. We didn't, and they were better than us. There's no doubt. But we still there's a scenario we could have beat them. We showed in the first half we could, but certainly last year, the way we lost to Granville, that kind of loss does not sit well.
Okay. I believe Tavian's in the, I want to say this correctly, Elite 11?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's a quarterback club, so to speak, the best, but what else can you say about it?
I don't really know. I know it's a big deal.
I mean, I've known about it for years. It's been around. I don't know the details of it other than, I feel like there's levels of it. Like there's kind of like the fake Elite 11. I know that's not the right word, but there's like the legit one. And then I think, and I might be saying that totally wrong, I know that whatever he's doing, it's very legit. I mean, and it's an opportunity for him to, be around some of the best of the best. And he's already obviously on that level and, do even more of that.
Okay. All right. And what do you get to do in the May period here? What will you do?
Well, we've been talking about that. We'll let baseball and track. I mean, even though they changed the date to May 15th, I mean, we're not going to start on May 15th if our kids. I mean, we're not going to. It just doesn't make any sense strategically for us to have a practice and especially half our varsity and maybe more than half would just be gone. So we'll wait until the spring sports are over. So, I mean, what do you, first week out of school, what's that? Like late May this year. And we'll just do what we've done really every year. I don't think we're adding with them giving us 3 extra days. I don't think you'll see us really use them. I mean, we'll kind of have them. Sometimes it's like you leave them on there, but we'll do about what we've done, which is we'll hit that 7 on hard for a few weeks, and then we're going to Ohio State again on June 15th, I think, so Ohio State, somewhere in there. And, we'll go and compete over there with some of the elite teams, and then we'll have some time off. I mean, I think Coach Brown does a good job. I know there's at least 2 weeks where we're totally off, July 4th and then late July. And we'll have kids doing other stuff too, vacations and baseball. And
last thing, then we'll get Coach Hogue in here from Bellefontaine Baseball. I don't know how this works with captains. Some teams have them, some teams do it weekly. But basically, the point is, who's the leaders of the team? If you would pick 3 or 4, and he might be one of them. He might have some other colleagues he's going to name.
Definitely one of
them. Who are like the 3 or 4 leaders you think of this team?
I won't say who the 3 or 4. Just I will say on the offensive line, Jack is our captain. So he will be one of them.
How about for you? Maybe I know this puts us in a danger of missing a name, but who are like the 3 or 4, 5, maybe 5 guys that are leaders of the team?
Well, I'm not going to name just that because there's a bunch of dudes, but me, Parker's got to lead because he's another senior offensive lineman. Tavian, I mean, he's the quarterback, so obviously. CJ, Riley, obviously Riley. He's one of the key leaders. Hayden, I mean, he's the guy on defense at this point.
Hayden's the alpha male. He's the Alex Caudill and Sully of this year.
Yeah,
No one's going at him. So that makes you a leader right away.
right.
Good and bad, maybe, but
Yeah, there's a bunch of other guys that,
So next Alex Caudill, Mike Backer.
Carter Caudill. Shebang.
well, that's not fair to him. Now, I said when we talked about our season, months ago, Alex Caudill had the best defensive season in my time here. So I don't think that's fair to say. The answer is probably nobody. And I don't say that like nobody is going to be any. I mean, that's a high bar. Alex was excellent. We just need guys to do their job. We don't need now. Hey, if Hayden wants to have Alex Caudill type season, that could happen. I mean, a different position, but Hayden has that talent. And he has put in a really good offseason. Hayden should be elite. Hayden should be first team All-State. So that's Alex Caudill-ish.
Wow.
But Alex didn't get first, but he should have.
But he had the best season you've seen.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I get it that somebody disagree and say somebody. I'm not saying I'm right, but I've never watched a guy defensively here that I thought was just more effective, just all the time, and passionate and played hard. I mean, it was impressive.
Did you? I know you're on offense, but did you look at him and say, "Whoa"?
Well, yeah, it was just. Look at the Jonathan Alder game. I mean, he shut that guy to get down. Cam Jewell. I mean, Jonathan Alder. He's a stud running back. Like, not taking any credit away from him because he's really, really, really good. And Alex was just hunting him all night. And Alex has. I mean, if you gave away MVPs for each game, Alex would have 7 or 8 on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Guys, thanks for stopping by. We'll do it again next week, and we're going to take a break, come back, and talk some Bellefontaine baseball with head coach Russ Hogue. It's Chieftain Roll Call. More after this.
This is Trey Daring at Eichholz Daring and Sanford Funeral Homes and Cremation Center. We are committed to providing professional, tailored funeral and cremation services at affordable pricing. We are part of a community where caring individuals, friends, and neighbors who consider it a privilege to serve you in your time of need. We are proud to be locally owned and operated. Our family serving your family since 1903.
Go Chiefs!
Foresight Insurance and Financial Services is a locally owned and operated financial services provider for the state of Ohio, focusing our efforts on serving the residents of Logan County and surrounding counties. We are located at 1653 US 68 North Bellefontaine. Foresight can help you with all your retirement needs. We specialize in assisting with pension options. We also offer business planning, charitable gifting strategies, as well as life and health insurance. Call today at 937-595-5002. Foresight Insurance and Financial Services, in the business of planning life.
Hello, this is Luke Varner from Easton Water Solutions. How is your water? Does your water need improved? Put my 23 years of experience to work for you. Give me a call today, Luke Varner, Easton Water Solutions, 592-8379.
At Realty, we value our clients and provide quality, professional services to Logan County and surrounding areas. Founded in 1988, our company prides itself on unique experiences that you can only find with us. Our area knowledge and negotiating expertise helps buyers and sellers achieve their goals. When you buy or sell with Royer Realty, you can use our moving truck free. Royer Realty, the realtors you know and trust.
Go Chiefs!
Welcome back to Chieftain Roll Calls, presented by Easton Water Solutions on South Main and Bellefontaine. I'm Bill Tipple with Russ Hogue as the Bellefontaine varsity baseball coach. And Russ is a former high school and college player and now has been leading the Chiefs for a couple of years. You're getting ready for your second full season. Last year, Bellefontaine had, as we look at the standings, a record of 10-14, but more than just even the numbers. What did you take out of your first season as a head coach?
I would say as a first-year head coach, there's some things that, you think but you don't know until it actually happens. So, I feel like this year I'm more prepared for situations that come up because, again, like last year, I believe we had 5 or 6 guys rotate that maybe if were hurt and you needed, another guy to get up, and you don't anticipate injuries ever as a coach. You just assume that everybody's going to be healthy and you can have everybody for the whole year. But again, You know, sometimes you have to adjust and adapt and try to change strategies. And, you know, for me, I would say last year we also had a very tough schedule. And again, 10 and 14, you're like, oh, wow, that's not the best of years. But if you look who we played, you're like, oh, okay, you played 4 teams in Myrtle Beach, and 2 of them made it to their regional final, and they went, 26-4, and we had them on the ropes. We played a Granville team that was ranked 9th in the state, and we beat them. Our league is, if you look at the Kent Trail division, you got the big dogs. You got Jonathan Alder, you got Kent Ridge, then you got us, then, you get a Tecumseh. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes, they're a little bad, but they're just hit and miss. And then you got the crossovers, which Ben Logan's been very good.
They have been very
Indian
good.
Lake's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So, it's a gauntlet, and that's what's kind of, you just got to do what you got.
Well, before the season, the coach never likes to like talk about the record of that particular season. Like
Yeah.
right now, looking at forecasting 23. But when we look back on 22, did you maybe leave some wins on the board? I think you do.
I've even went over with the kids this preseason. There were 7 games where we should have won. So you look at our schedule. Would you say we're 10 and 14?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you swap. We
17 and 7, if that all.
if we were supposed to do what we were supposed to do, we should have went 17 and 7. Even if you look at our tournament game, we're up, I think 5-4 going to the bottom of 6. And again, it's not like everybody might think it might be Chris's fault. Gave up a 2-run home run, but that's baseball. I mean, you can't control that. So it is what it is.
Okay. What do you know now that you didn't know a year ago? I said you started the show off right away by saying you learned so much, but what are, and this could be a super long answer, so I'll limit it to maybe 2 or 3 big things. If you were maybe talking to a first-year baseball coach from, another school somewhere in our region and they were picking your brain, what would be the things that you would, 2 or 3 biggest things you would share?
Number 1, I think something that gets overlooked a lot is fundraising. Number 2, the other thing that gets overlooked a lot is youth development. And then the third one, of course, is player development. Those 3 things alone takes up a lot of time. You're trying to research and try to figure out the best thing for a kid, a high school kid, a middle school kid. College recruiting, you got to reach out to coaches. You got to try to figure out how you can get a certain coach to a game. You got to schedule around other college coaches' schedules. And then on top of that, you actually got to make a lineup, coach, get to know the kids.
When you say youth development, you mean like Bellefontaine High people or even small?
Young, yep. So prior to me taking over at the high school level, we had 24 total kids, grades 9 through 12 playing baseball. This season we had 51 come out.
Oh my.
So and again, that comes back from when I first took over last year. We started a middle school baseball program. We have a 7th and 8th grade baseball team. So we're starting to get kids involved in baseball earlier. So either A, they gain interest in it and like it, or vice versa, they don't like it and don't want to play and, go do something else, which is fine with me as well. But again, it pushes, the more people you have in the program, the more it pushes others to do what you want them to do. For example, that's why I always try to get, decent guys with us all times, because it motivates their tearmate to do better, or, it motivates
Competition.
competition. Yep.
Yeah, the cream rises to the top is the old saying. Do you have it's still so early, you've only had maybe a week or so practices, a little over a week, but do you have a better team than last year, a different team? How does this year's team so early on compared to 2022?
Oh, it's vastly different. Again, I would say, again, last year we had probably 2 of the best arms in the state of Ohio, bar none, Tavian and Alex Caudill. I mean, Tavian was top 10 in the Prep Baseball Report in his class, elite level. Like if you look at that top 10, those guys are all going to like Tennessee. I'm talking high caliber, big time schools. And then, of course, Alex Caudill throwing 90, 91 as a high school kid. That's highly impressive. This year, we got, 5 or 6 guys that don't throw 90, 91, but throw strikes, they're crafty, and then we have a good defense and we're fast. So last year we kind of relied on
Different kind of team then.
it's got to coach. They got to be coached different. It's totally different. Which is
Tavian did not go out for baseball,
correct.
correct?
Nope.
Okay. And Alex, I'm going to guess medically couldn't.
Yeah, medically he will not. I'm assuming he will not be available. Even if I don't think he goes back to the doctor till late April to get cleared by Dr. Kremchek. But even then, I would for his career longevity wise, I wouldn't even try to even convince him to, give one for the Gipper and try to come back for your, I would never do that to him because Alex is, again, what they were talking about earlier, of great kid. And again, I hope to see him have great success at the next level. I mean, again, I would love to be able to coach him this year, but it's longevity for me, which would be cool.
Lake Erie College, your alma mater,
Yep,
in Paynesville near Cleveland. And Tavian, when we say Tavian, it's Tavian St. Clair, who we talked about in the first segment of the show. He's the Bellefontaine quarterback. He's
Yep.
a sophomore, and he just elected not to come out. And he's, these elite players like this are kind of put in a pickle. I know as the baseball coach, by human nature, you would love to have a Tavian St. Clair on your team. I get it.
Yeah.
But then he's put into a schedule bind if he wants to maybe go full scale with his football recruiting. So he's kind of put in a tough spot there. So you won't have him and you won't have Alex Caudill. So who are your 2 or 3 prime pitchers?
Yeah, so I would say on a good day, I call it the Little League days, where, I might throw 5 arms in one game.
Oh, okay.
So I might, give Cade Reams a start, have him go 2 innings, then bring in a guy like a Lane Reeves for 2 innings, then bring in like a Keon Collier for an inning or 2, and then bring in a Chris Vogan maybe to close it out, or an Alex Crable, right? So then that Wednesday, because we'll play a different team, maybe start somebody else. Because with conference play, it's all a pitch count. So I would rather keep our guys fresh, especially earlier in the year. Because, again, I think I made that mistake last year. Sometimes when you get in the heat of battle, you want to ride your Bulldogs.
Yeah, and that's the time of the year, even in pros, where they, and you know this, you were a pitcher, where you got to kind of build it up. But if you were going to start one guy, if it's let's say you had a tournament game Friday night against Kent Ridge, we're making up a scenario. Do you have that one guy, or it's still very up in the air right now, where you just don't know?
Yep, could be somebody that just steps up. I don't have anybody that's like, okay, this is our guy. It's just going to be one of those things we're going to say, hey, so you can do it and who can't.
How about other position? And maybe there's some position battles, which would be very interesting for our show right now. It's still so early in baseball season here on March 1st. But do you know your catcher? Do you know your infield?
No.
No?
No. I mean, and that's what I was trying to tell the boys. Currently, we have 14 lockers in the clubhouse. We're lucky to have great facilities. And,
great.
Have a clubhouse. I mean, shoot, some colleges don't even have clubhouses, but we have a clubhouse that's got 14 in there. And right now I got 19, 20 guys, and there's no real difference between the 6th guy to the 20th. I mean, you can't tell. Like, if I would have you out there and say, Bill, what did you think of the 9th guy comparative to the 6th guy? You'd be like, they're about the same. And it's a good thing. But it's tough. As a coach, it's tough because you can't really say, to maybe a depth chart guy that's number 15, you can't really say, like, hey, this guy clearly beat you out until you're in games.
Yeah.
So
Eventually,
eventually
it will sort itself all out.
So, yeah, exactly.
But, every team has leaders. So do you have 2 or 3 guys that kind of lead, that are maybe leading the team in practices right now?
I would say the alpha male's Alex. I mean, even though he's not playing, I'm telling you right now, the trait that sets him apart and the reason why I vouched him to Lake Erie and pushed to get him a full scholarship there is, again, his raw athletic ability. That's one thing. But him as a person and a leader and a man is impressive. And for me, I can vouch for him. I could say, he could walk into a college locker room and fend for himself. And at college, that's what you got to do. You're, man eat man. And you got to be ready.
So he is the leader.
He is.
So he must go to all the stuff.
He goes to all practices. He helps the kids out. He pulls kids aside and says, hey, try this. Coach Hogue doesn't like when you do that. Try this. Stuff that he already knows that are my pet peeves. He knows. So for me, it's like a breath of fresh air. I can look over.
Okay.
I almost give him a look, and then he kind of helps me. It's awesome.
That's interesting. And it's interesting to me that he, in today's day and age where a lot of times it's all about my schedule, what's best for me, he doesn't have a lot to gain from this. Maybe
Correct.
he wants to be a coach someday. He's getting some good on-the-job training.
Yeah.
But he's really helping his teammates, helping the baseball program, and helping you as the coach too. Anybody else that has shown some leadership so far?
As of right now, since it's early, I mean, of course, there's a lot of guys that are trying to lead, but like at this point, it's one of those things where there's guys that are natural leaders. You know what I'm saying? Like they know that they are the leader. Everybody looks at them, and there's other guys that try to be that leader. So that's where we're at right now. So again, I think it kind of, especially with high school sports, it's basically if you're doing well, kids look at you like, wow, you're successful. I want to be like you, kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now. So it's going to probably depend later in the season or middle of the season.
How many seniors?
5 seniors, including Alex. I still consider him a vital member of the team, even though
Alex
he's not playing.
Caudill,
So you
Kean
got-
Collier.
Yep. So you got Alex Caudill, who's going to Lake Erie. You have Keon, who's recently committed to Defiance College for baseball.
Oh,
Caden Reams is currently in the works of 2 schools. He hasn't made his decision on which way he wants to go for baseball. Then you got Lane Reeves, and then JT Mundy. Those are the 5 that are on the team.
do you know how many juniors?
Yeah, junior-wise, we have 7, or I might be off, 8.
Yeah, you got some veteran. I mean, just
That's-
when you look at this on paper, some veteran.
That's what I'm saying. That's what kind of makes it tough too, because you got guys that are, getting up there in age, and sometimes people look down on JV as a junior, blah blah blah. But I'd rather, when you're talking to kids, you're like, I'd rather you play JV than sit here and get splinters on varsity. And it's a tough talk with a kid,
yeah.
but it's the truth.
Yeah, well, I think it'd be nobody wants to watch really.
Yeah.
How about the rest of your coaching staff, 9 through 12?
Yeah, so actually I'll go 7 through 12. So 7th grade, we have Joey Gingler, who's an 8th grade teacher at the school. Again, 7th, 8th grade baseball is club. It's all kind of ran through by me. And then I do the scheduling. I give it off to those guys, and they run with it. And then 8th grade used to be Tom Rose, but when we had a lot of kids trying out for high school baseball, I bumped Tom up to 9th. And I was fortunate enough to have Joe Boop, who's a parent, volunteer and take over as 8th grade. 9th grade coach, or I'd say JVB, because there might be 1 or 2 or 3 sophomores on it, depending on it. That's going to be coached by Tom Rose. And then at the JV level is my brother-in-law, Aaron Keene, and then Greg Bryant. And then at the varsity level, you have myself, Josh Wallace, and then Mike Mossbarger.
Okay. Where guys do you go to? You're still young in age. You've been around the game for a long time. But who are guys maybe you bounce ideas off, either on your staff or just maybe somebody that's not even on your staff? That if you're just looking to maybe get a perspective.
I would say a lot of ideas that I bounce my ideas off of actually come from inside staff-wise. We just talk, and Mike might have a great idea, Josh might have a good idea, my brother-in-law might have a good idea. So kind of internal-wise. But I would say when I have like a dilemma, like something that I have to make a tough call on, to be honest, I call either Dave Coburn or Dave Klein. Those are my confidants. They've been coaches basically their whole lives. When I was a Laker, those guys, when I was at my low point, those guys helped me out through life. So I kind of look at them as a mentor. Like they walked, Dave Klein and Dave Coburn actually walked my mom down the aisle for my wedding day. So those guys are very important to me. And again, they've been around the block with coaching and situations, parents, maybe playing time, and sometimes external stuff, internal. Just bounce ideas off of them because they've already experienced it.
We're Talking with Coach Hogue. Russ Hogue is the Bellefontaine varsity baseball coach, the head coach, getting ready for his second season here on Chieftain Roll Call. The Chiefs open the season as we look at the schedule at home. Now, this is always kind of weather permitting in late March, but
Correct.
March 25th, that's a Saturday, against Fairfield, which I'm guessing is a Division I baseball team. That's a big school.
Yep.
Do you know anything about the Fairfield team?
I do. So again, my philosophy is always I want to play the best. I do. I mean, even if our team, people on paper were like, "Wow, you guys don't really match up well against a Fairfield." With baseball, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true.
But Fairfield last year, they lost to Cincinnati Moeller in the regional finals, 4-2, and they have everybody back. And again, they're going to give us a game. They have a lefty that throws about 90. And again, of course, our guys are like, "Oh my gosh, coach, you're really good." Yep. So you better put your big boy pants on and be ready to play. Because I'd rather play the best of the best and, maybe lose. And so you have those games because you can learn from them. I think you learn a lot more from losses than you do maybe a victory over a lesser opponent.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Plus, you got to get ready for the league, and there are a lot of the CBC is very, very stout in baseball.
Correct.
So, no question about that. Favorite part of the job and the most difficult part of the job.
Oh, the best part about the job is the kids. It's always nice when a kid reaches out to you and says thanks, or thanks, coach, for molding me into being a man. All those I know I've only been doing it one, but I've been an assistant for 4. So I've had guys that have been around me personally, and for example, Ethan Moore is getting his first start at Bluffton today,
cool.
and we still talk. He still helps out, coaches junior acme. So again, the relationship there, is always nice because again, still talk. Former players, Alex Pulfer, who's serving in the Air Force. We met and had breakfast together when he came back for leave. Again, he could have met with anybody he wanted to, but he wanted to have brunch with me. He talked about life and all that stuff. And to me, that's the awesome part, is seeing guys grow from being maybe a shy little freshman to a man, which is cool. And the tough part of the job, again, is what I'm going to have to do Friday afternoon or Friday evening. So you got to look at a kid and say, "Hey, you're on JV." It is what it is. And the kid, you could tell, is just crushed because he's getting told he's going to be on JV, and he was hoping to be with his friends on varsity. That is tough.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
Who will be really good in the CBC?
Kent Ridge, Jonathan Alder, the same olds on the Kent Trail side. On the Mad River side, Urbana will come out of nowhere and surprise people.
Really?
I really do think they'll come out of nowhere.
So I'm looking at the standings from last year's coach, and Urbana was 6-18. Chiefs beat them 10-8 right here in a high-scoring game. They were just 4-12 in the league, so they'll have and they did that in football.
They were young last year. They primarily had freshmen and sophomores, but you could just tell they had that raw talent.
Okay.
And then the other one would be Graham, and then Indian Lake, and maybe Ben Logan. I don't know what they returned. I know they lost a lot.
Okay. Benjamin Logan won the league last year. They were 13-3, 16-4 overall. Indian Lake was second, 10-6, followed by Graham, North Union, Northwestern, and Urbana. This is on the Red River side. Jonathan Alder won the Kenton Trails side. They went 13-3. Kenton Ridge was 12-4. Tecumseh 11-5. So they kind of had a strong year that you talked about earlier. Bellefontaine was 7-8. London 6-10, and Springfield Shawnee, who at times has had good baseball. They were only 2-13. This might be a good one to ask the players. We just don't have any on. We'll try to get them on later this spring. But who would be a couple, 3 big rival teams for Chieftain baseball? Where your guys get excited?
I would say the county schools, but Logan, Indian Lake, that's definitely. And I think Alder. I think Alder's another one. It's a rival. I really do. I would say they're equivalent to like a Tip City back in the day. They are,
Kind of the standard.
Yep, the guy who we're chasing.
Okay.
So I would say those 3.
How about the pressure of the job? And this is kind of a twofold question. You're still young and I'm sure growing, learning, as any of us would be if we were at, that age in our career, whatever we're doing. And you're coming into a school that maybe not lately, the last few years, but if you look at some of the, and I know you know some of this already, but the tradition is high. So how about the pressure of the job? How do you handle that?
Oh yeah, it's interesting. You know, you can go out to dinner and somebody come up to you and say 10 and 14, and you'd be like, "Hey, I'm just trying to enjoy my meal over here," you know. but again, I always try to stress to the kids like people treat this serious, guys. Like, you know, you need to treat it just as serious as past players. I mean, people follow you. Like, they want you to be successful. They want us to do well because that's what they expect. And for you to not expect that for yourselves is bad. And you need to expect greatness. Because, again, we have potential. So either you use it or you lose it. So, again, pressure-wise, with me personally, again, we can go, 19 and 5, win a district championship, or go 10 and 14. But again, if the kids grow into good people, like for example, I'm telling you, Alex Caudill as a sophomore comparative now is night and day. And that to me is way better than a record, just flat out.
Wow. Okay. Well, Coach, what happens? My last question here. What happens March 25th when you open home against Fairfield? We talked about that a few minutes ago. But what happens in the meantime? I know you got to kind of set rosters later this week, but then how about scrimmages this month?
Again, scrimmages wise, it's a gauntlet. Our first scrimmage is March 11th against Coldwater, again, who's always a powerhouse in baseball. They eat, drink, sleep, football and baseball. And then the following scrimmage is against St. Henry, another MAC school.
Yeah, usually pretty good.
Another team that's normally pretty good. The other team that will be scrimmaging is Miami Trace. Miami Trace is normally in the top 10 in the state polls. They're normally primarily pretty good. Their head coach actually played college baseball with my dad at Wilmington.
Oh.
So that's kind of the connection we have there.
Yeah.
And then the fourth scrimmage is against West Liberty leading up to the Fairfield game.
Do you only get 4?
Only get 4, yeah.
That's all you get.
That's it.
Okay. Today outside?
Today outside, but we couldn't be on the dirt, but we were able to kind of make do with what we could do.
Okay. Do you know anything about your team yet, or it's still so early you can't
It's
just
early.
say we are this?
I would say sometimes people crown or try to. To me, I don't say much until about the 8th game of the season. Until I because again, I can rub a crystal ball and predict and hope for the best, which I tell the guys. I hope we are successful. I hope this is the outcomes we get. But you don't truly know until you're actually in the battle, and then you get to see how guys react, how they respond to adversity, how they respond to doing well, bad. And that's another takeaway I think I took last year, right? I would say last year, even in my own head, I'm like, we're going to be really good. We got 2 of the best arms. Maybe we don't need to do this at practice. Maybe we do this instead, instead of just doing the basics, instead of just doing and getting ready. And I think that's
So after about 2 weeks, and you start to have a feel.
mm-hmm.
One of the other bugaboos when we look at last year's team is just offensively, it was a struggle to score runs.
Correct.
At least in the league, where I'm looking
Yeah.
at this, 75 runs, which was the second lowest in the Kenton Trail.
And if you go even deeper, this is what made me toss and turn in the night last year. We had, I want to say, in 8 league games, we would have a runner at second base with maybe 1 or less outs and 4 of the 7 innings and not score. So
Wow.
were, so you know what I'm saying? Like, we are there. We're like,
Need a big hit.
we just need a hit. We just need something.
So, how does the team get better at that? From maybe last May 15th to this March 25th, how do you get that better?
Just in practice, putting them in those pressure situations. Like, hey, runner on second. You pick 3 hitters. If you don't do it, we're running. You got to get them in. I don't care how you do it. You can bunt them, and then vice versa. If the defense, you give up the run, you run. So I'm looking forward to getting into that types of situations, especially being able to do it outside instead of inside, because inside's kind of fake. But outside, you put that pitching machine on 84 and say, get that guy in from second. I don't care how you do it. You can see who can and then who can't.
Yeah, you're putting them in real competitive atmosphere. Okay. Well, good luck this season.
I appreciate it.
Any goal you have in mind? I know you want to get better. If we're talking a Memorial Day, this would make it a successful season. You have anything in mind as far as that?
No, I don't. To me personally, I always try to tell the boys, individual goals are one thing, team goals are one thing, but I just want to see you do something, right? We can talk all day about how good or what we expect, but just do it. Just prove me. Show me, because I think that's another thing that sometimes high school age kids sometimes get caught up with. They think of a goal, and sometimes, let's say halfway through the year, their goal is to get 20 wins. And let's say halfway through the year, we got 7 wins. And, we only got 12 games left, so we're not going to get that 20. Some kids, they're like, oh, we're not going to get our goal. We suck, So for me, I don't make the goals. I just say, hey, show up. Let's win the day. Day at a time. Just win the day.
Okay. Well, good luck this spring.
Appreciate it.
That is Bellefontaine varsity baseball coach Russ Hogue. The Chiefs open the season March 25th, home, right outside our studio at Blue Jacket Park. That will be against Fairfield from the Cincinnati area. Right now it's a 1 o'clock start. And again, those March games, we hope the weather cooperates. Then over spring break, by the way, the Chiefs will be off as far as classes the week of Monday, April 3rd. They're busy. They have games at Kenton Ridge on Monday, Wednesday, Kenton Ridge home, Friday, the 7th, Benjamin Logan home, Saturday, Try at home. So the spring break will be busy for the Bellefontaine baseball team, no doubt about it. Thanks to our guests this week, Russ Hogue, who's the Bellefontaine varsity baseball coach. Earlier in the show, Rick Reed and Jack Varner were talking Chieftain football here in the offseason. Our show every week presented by Easton Water Solutions. It is Chieftain Roll Call. For all of our guests, I'm Bill Tipple saying have a good week.